Hey guys, it's Katie. I'm here to talk to you about my life with vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Hopefully you can hear me okay. It's been a really long day. I had a transient ischemic attack this morning at 2:35ish. So I was going to talk about that and then also a little bit about my experience at the hospital so far, which has been very different. Um, Basically the whole experience. So this might be a long video, and I'm apologizing for that now if you don't want to watch it. But it was a pretty crazy morning. So I woke up at 2:35 this morning with some nausea and went into the kitchen and got some like famotidine for my stomach, and I went and I got some water, and on the way back from that, I was walking into my bedroom, and all of a sudden I felt very, very like the room started spinning. It was very very fast. I feel lightheaded and weird, and then I was on the ground and the room was spinning, and I couldn't feel my left leg down at all. Everything was wet, and I forgot about the water, and I thought that I like peed my pants or pooped myself or I was bleeding. I didn't know what was going on, and everything was spinning, and I don't think I had control of my left hand at all. And I was also seeing like little lights, like when you get migraines, like imagine staring at like a really like fast flashing light for way too long and then looking away, and then that being what you're seeing. And that's what I was seeing. And so my phone was on the nightstand about, I think, probably 20 feet away, 15, 20 feet away. I'm really bad at estimating feet. But I was like, oh my God, I need to get to an ambulance. And I called out for my neighbor 4 times, and they didn't hear me. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to crawl to my phone. So I was dragging myself across the carpet to where my phone was, and I like dragging my leg behind me because it wasn't there. It was like spaghetti. It was terrifying, and I managed to get my phone off the nightstand from the ground. I had struggles with like lifting my head because everything was spinning so much. And so I pull my phone down, and I like have it on the ground, and I'm kind of like, if you're gonna be in an earthquake, right? And your body is just kind of curled up. It's curled up, and I have my phone on the ground, and I'm trying to use it. And the phone, like I couldn't see the screen right, or something was not working with my hand, like my right hand wasn't working. So I'm like trying to hit all the buttons to call 911, and I couldn't hit the right buttons. It kept wanting me to text somebody, and I'm like, that's not what I'm trying to do. And I just remember being in this like high state of like everything is quiet, and I'm trying to call 911, and I have to be so focused on getting this done. I need to tell the ambulance what's going on. And I finally managed after several times to call 911, and they answered the phone, and I'm like, hi, this is like, they're like, what can we do? And I'm just like, I need an ambulance at this address. I'm having a stroke. I got those 3 things out right away. They had me repeat the address. I told them like I didn't have a way for them to get in, but I had a neighbor who had a key, and I was like, okay, it's gonna be fine. And they reassured me that they were on their way, and hung up. And so then I was like, okay, what can I do now in the minutes before they get here? So then I called a couple people that mean a lot to me, and I just left them voicemails telling them that I loved them and that something had happened, and I think I had a stroke, and the ambulance was on the way, and I love your face, because I wanted them to know in case I died, and which I know they already know that. But then I hear the fire truck roll up, and I had told the lady about the neighbor who had the key, but I heard them come up to the door, and I'm in my bedroom on the ground, and I had just started getting a little bit of feeling in my toes, and things weren't spinning as much. I hear them come up to the door and try it, and then I hear them say like, oh, the door's locked, we have to go get the key or whatever, and I'm like, fuck. I have to help them which I knew they could have done it, but I needed help so bad. And I was like, okay, I can do this. I have this little like camper light on my nightstand, and I had that out, and that was the only light that I had on in the house, was this little like push button light that just like is for camping, and I keep it there in case of emergencies because I'm a dork. So I grabbed that and my phone, and I just start crawling across my apartment through the liquid on the ground, that's when I realized that it was water and not incontinence or anything. And I managed to get to the door and like reach up to it and like pull my body weight on it in order to get it to unlock. And I open it, and I hear them downstairs, and I hear them go, "I think there's somebody opening the door." And I'm like, "Hello, hello." So they came up, and there were three responders. One of them was a paramedic, and they managed to get me up on the couch and talking, and like things started calming down. And they were looking at my emergency book, which, if you guys remember, I have this like pretty cool emergency book that talks about, and I told them where it was and that I needed them to get it. And so one of them's asking me questions about how I'm feeling, and I'm taking my vitals and everything, and then there's another guy that's like reading this, and he's like, all of a sudden he's like, "Holy cow," or whatever, like "holy crap," or whatever he said, and he's like, "She could have been like vomiting and like just had a AAA or had a dissection or something from vomiting too hard." And that pressure in her body, and like they're like talking between each other, like, "What?" And they're like talking about the diagnosis, and I'm like "Yeah, no, like I tried to file a premise file request so that you guys would know before coming what I had and what it meant." And none of them had ever heard of it, which was pretty crazy. So they're all like talking to me about it, and they're super interested, and they're like, "Can we take a picture of this?" Then the ambulance drivers arrived, and they came up, and like when they came into the door, they were like, "Look at this like condition that she has. Like, have you ever heard of this?" And none of the 5 people in my apartment had ever heard of this condition or what it meant. And a couple of them took pictures, and one of them I think is actually going to go to the medical director that denied my premise file request and be like, "Yo, like we don't know what this is." And we talked about that, which was pretty cool. So they got me in the ambulance and got me to the ER. It was like 2:46, I think, 2:44 when they arrived at my apartment. And so we were probably on the way to the ER by then, and got there, and then they put me in the waiting room after they triaged me. So I called and I had resolved symptoms by now, which was good. So it was TIA, which was, it was terrifying. It was really terrifying. So I'm in the waiting room, and so I call my vascular surgeon, and she was shocked that I was in the waiting room, and she called the attending, and they talked and like organized the care plan and what they were planning to do, which was really good. And I was the next patient to be seen, but then I'm trying to remember, this whole day was just kind of crazy. I spent from like 3 o'clock this morning until I think it was like 7 before I got a hospital room. Like they decided to admit me this morning at some point. They're like, "We're gonna admit you because they did a CT scan, and no bleeds showed up on the CT scan." So then they decided to admit me because they don't know why I had a TIA. Like, they don't know where it came from. So then they did an MRI to look at the soft tissue, like my brain tissue. And they also did a CTA, which is the CT angiogram that shows all the arteries too, and nothing was unusual there. So they've admitted me, but it took from like 3 a.m. until 7 p.m. to get a room, which was kind of crazy. I was in the ER on a stretcher until like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then they're like, "We're going to get you a little bit better of a bed," because I was in so much pain. So they did that, which was nice. And I'm trying to remember bits and pieces. Like, I just barely saw anybody for a while. It was hours of just like, do they even remember that I'm here? I didn't know who my neurologist was. I didn't know who had looked at my scans. I didn't know who my doctor was anymore. I was pretty sure my nurse had been changed at some point, but I didn't know who they were. Like, it's just a really weird experience to be kind of felt like you're forgotten in the ER. When I talked to my vascular surgeon, it was kind of crazy because it's just like, it's a weird experience, and it's something that I experience every time that I'm here. And like, I know that what I had was serious. So and every time that someone new would come in to ask me about it, like, oh, I understand you had some muscle weakness this morning. And I'm like, no, I didn't have muscle weakness this morning. I collapsed and had like full-on stroke symptoms and I had like no motor coordination. Like, it felt like a very minimization of what this traumatic experience was. I mean, like, like, I am amazed that, like, I know that I'm prepared for these kinds of things mentally. I'm always prepared for these kinds of things to happen, and I should have had my phone on me when I went to the kitchen. But I didn't, and I'm always mentally prepared for shit like this. So when it happened, I was just like, okay, I'm having an event. I can't panic. I gotta go get to the phone. Like, it was, like, very much, like, structure. Like, I call, I tell them what I need. I tell them how to get to my apartment. Then I call the people I love after I've got the ambulance on the way. And then I texted my boss and I said, I think I had a stroke. Ambulance is on its way. I'm going to be at the ER. I might be late for work. Which is ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. But it is what it is. So there's that. And I'm super terrified to walk now. It's really scary. Like, I'm afraid that I'm just gonna fall down, and I don't want to just fall down, so I'm, like, scared to walk. But I have full feeling and everything back. I'm just scared. I don't want it to happen again, and I'm scared that I don't know where this came from. I don't know why I had it. I don't know if I have a dissected artery somewhere, like, down below that maybe, like, got a clot and then the clot moved. I don't know why I'm clotting if I'm having aspirin every day and doing the things I'm supposed to do. I take very good care of myself, and it's frustrating. They told me it was nothing that I did, and I'm still, like, sitting here like, what did I do wrong? Did I have one beer too many? Did I have too many cookies? Like, was it fried food? Was it exercising too much? Like, what did I do? And really, I didn't do anything. There's nothing I did. It's just, like, something that happened that sucks. So, and none of the the doctors here or the nurses are all very interested this time in what I have, which is a different experience because the last few times I've been here, they take a look at my emergency card and they're like, oh yeah, Ehlers-Danlos, no big deal. And they just kind of like, whatever. And this time I've got, like, tons of people asking me about what it is, which is kind of cool because it's raising awareness. And raising awareness is what I want to do. But it's just trippy. Like, even the nurse that checked me into this room noticed the veins on my arm. And I'm like, oh no, you gotta see my back. Like, that's where, like, you can really see everything, And that's interesting. It's an interesting experience there. I told one of the nurses I felt wobbly, and she asked if I wanted some Tylenol for that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think Tylenol is meant for wobbliness. I don't know. I could be wrong. This whole day is kind of crazy. I've got family here, and people, like, my mom flew in, and she's going to be here any minute. I think most of the day I spent thinking, like, I was going to go back to work later. And now I'm being admitted, and I'm staying overnight for observation, and tomorrow I'm going to see, like, a physical therapist who's going to talk to me about moving forward. And I think I'm also going to have, like, an echo tomorrow, too, to make sure there's nothing wrong there. Because nothing showed up on the neck or head that wasn't already known. Probably talk to my vascular surgeon about my concern about a dissection somewhere else. So we'll talk about that. It's just crazy. The whole experience was crazy. The amount of like clarity I had in the moment was crazy, and the amount of just like, I was joking with my boss and my coworker. They're like, "Do you need anything?" And I'm like, "Yeah, if you could put my phone on away, and I need somebody to cover the front desk today." Like, I'm a dumbass. I'm just a dumbass. But I guess I deal with this with humor, and eventually it's not going to be funny anymore. But right now it's still floating in between like funny and like super, super real, where I can't believe all of this happened this morning. It's crazy. But yeah. So anyway, that is my story about today, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for listening.